In the dimly lit hours of a quiet night in Las Vegas, a man once hailed as the king of pop found himself ensnared in a web of financial ruin, legal battles, and a shattered reputation. Michael Jackson, a name that once commanded stadiums and sold out concerts in minutes, now struggled to keep his head above water. His life, once a dazzling spectacle of immense wealth and unparalleled fame, had transformed into a harrowing tale of decline and isolation. The story of Michael Jackson's fall from grace is not just a narrative of personal tragedy, but a cautionary tale of the perils of fame and the complexities of legal and financial entanglements. Michael Jackson's journey to this point began with a series of setbacks that would have been overwhelming for anyone, let alone an artist of his stature. By the late 1990s, Jackson's career had stagnated. He hadn't released a studio album in 6 years, hadn't toured for almost as long, and had lost nearly all commercial endorsements due to the lingering scandal surrounding the Jordan Chandler affair. This affair, which resulted in a settlement and tarnished Jackson's public image, had a profound impact on his financial well-being. His annual income, which had once soared to $100 million, plummeted to a mere $10 to $12 million, a fraction of what he had earned at the peak of his career. His annual overheads, however, remained astronomically high at nearly $20 million, forcing him to rely heavily on loans against his half of the Sony ATV catalog to maintain his lavish lifestyle. The financial strain was not the only burden Jackson carried. His longtime friends and associates grew increasingly concerned about his growing dependence on prescription painkillers. The combination of financial pressure, legal troubles, and personal struggles began to take a toll on his mental and physical health. Jackson, a man who had always been the epitome of grace and perfection on stage, was now battling demons that threatened to consume him. One of the most significant blows to Jackson's career came from an unexpected source: his own contract with Sony. Unbeknownst to Jackson, the contract had been rewritten without his knowledge, turning what he believed to be a straightforward 3-album deal into a more complex and binding 5-album agreement. The new contract included stringent clauses that demanded he release a new CD every 2 years, a Christmas CD, and 2 soundtracks. Failure to meet these obligations would result in massive financial penalties, up to $20 million for each unfinished album. Jackson's hopes of regaining control of his masters, including the iconic albums Thriller and Bad, were dashed when he discovered the true nature of the contract. Despite the overwhelming odds, Jackson attempted to navigate his way out of the Sony contract. With the help of his attorney, John Branca, who had been dispensed with in 1990, Jackson had once overseen a favorable contract with CBS. However, the Sony contract had been revised by one of the people who had replaced Branca, creating a conflict of interest that would later allow Jackson to challenge the contract's validity. The Dunkirk clause in the contract provided a way out, but it came with its own set of complications. If Jackson left Sony, he would inherit the mechanical copyright ownership of his recordings, but Sony could still sue him for the financial penalties. Conversely, if Sony tried to terminate the contract, they would face a costly legal battle. In a desperate attempt to fulfill his contractual obligations, Jackson released the album Invincible in 2001. Despite entering the charts at number 1, the album's success was short-lived, and it failed to meet the expectations set by his previous works. The album sold around 10 million copies worldwide, a significant number for most artists but a disappointment for Jackson, who had once dominated the music industry. The lackluster performance of Invincible and the subsequent decision by Sony not to renew his recording contract in 2002 marked a turning point in Jackson's career. Jackson's troubles were far from over. In 2003, his reputation took another hit when the documentary Living with Michael Jackson aired on British television. The documentary, which followed Jackson for 8 months, painted a picture of a man who was increasingly isolated and erratic. The most damaging aspect of the documentary was the interview with 13-year-old Gavin Arvizo, who alleged that Jackson had shared a bed with him. The documentary sparked widespread outrage and renewed allegations of child molestation. Jackson's attempts to rebut the claims were met with skepticism, and his reputation was left in tatters. The legal battles that followed were both a reflection of Jackson's personal struggles and a testament to the complexities of his financial and legal entanglements. In 2003, Neverland Ranch was raided by the police, and an arrest warrant was issued for Jackson, accusing him of molesting a child. The trial, which lasted 4 months, was a media circus, with Jackson's legal team uncovering evidence that the Arvizo family had a history of making abuse allegations. Despite the intense scrutiny, Jackson was acquitted of all 14 counts in June 2005. However, the trial took a significant toll on his mental and emotional well-being, and he soon fled to Bahrain, where he sought refuge with the help of his friend, Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. In Bahrain, Jackson found a temporary respite from the chaos of his life. Sheikh Abdullah provided him with a luxurious palace, a recording studio, and financial support, but even this sanctuary was short-lived. Jackson's financial troubles continued to mount, and he was on the brink of defaulting on a $270 million loan from the Bank of America. The Fortress Investment Group, which had purchased the loan in 2003, threatened to call it in, forcing Jackson to seek a new financing agreement. Sony and Citigroup came to his rescue, but the terms were steep. Jackson agreed to give Sony the right to buy half of his 50% stake in the Beatles' catalog for $250 million, a move that provided temporary relief but further eroded his financial independence. Jackson's time in Bahrain was marked by a series of failed projects and broken promises. He signed a deal with Sheikh Abdullah for a $7 million advance to produce new music, but he reneged on the agreement, leading to a lawsuit from the Sheikh. Jackson's next stop was Ireland, where he spent the summer of 2006 in a secluded Georgian estate, working on new music with artists like will.i.am. However, he could not escape his financial troubles, and by 2007, he found himself back in the United States, the country he had vowed never to return to. Jackson's return to the United States was marked by a desperate attempt to regain his financial footing. He secretly flew back to Las Vegas and rented a 7-bedroom mansion, where he began to explore the possibility of a residency in one of the city's hotels. Despite his financial struggles, Jackson managed to negotiate a $1 million rental fee for the property, a testament to the enduring appeal of his name and brand. However, his life in Las Vegas was anything but peaceful. Paparazzi camped outside his home, scaling trees and trying to catch a glimpse of him and his children. Jackson's isolation and the constant scrutiny only added to his stress. It was during this time that Jackson met Dr. Conrad Murray, a local doctor who began to visit the Jackson household regularly. Murray, who had initially been called in to treat a bout of influenza, became a regular presence in Jackson's life, providing medical care and, some would later argue, enabling his dependence on prescription painkillers. The relationship between Jackson and Murray would eventually become a central focus of the legal and media scrutiny that followed Jackson's untimely death in 2009. Michael Jackson's life was a complex tapestry of triumph and tragedy, fame and isolation, and a relentless pursuit of perfection that ultimately proved unsustainable. His fall from grace is a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most seemingly invincible careers. In the end, Jackson's legacy remains a blend of unparalleled artistic achievement and profound personal struggle. His story is a testament to the power of music to inspire, and the dangers of the pressures that come with fame. In the end, the King of Pop's life was a haunting reminder that even the most brilliant stars can fall from the sky.